What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me this week and every week, the Sergeant Pepper. It's my John Wesley Harding, Desra.
Just trying to puzzle through that reference, but sitting across from me is, of course, Brian Paul.
I like Bob Dylan.
Yeah, that's okay. I've forgiven you for many things. Actually, no, I got no problems with Bob. Good guy.
Merville's is awesome.
Bob Zimmerman.
Merville's
Robert Zimmerman.
is awesome.
Zimmerman.
Merville's. All right, Des. A few episodes ago, we relaunched this. Okay,
We read it.
Okay.
We can probably stop saying that every
Yeah, who knows? And this might not even be called Gaming Without Parole at this point. We might have changed the name a few episodes ago, but we're trying to get ahead to make sure we have content for you every single week. So we're calling it Gaming Without Parole until we find out what the title is. It may have introduced with a different title. Also, people probably stop watching already, so time to move on.
These people have no idea what they're doing.
Desra,
Yes.
We only talk about PlayStation VR games. We talk about one PlayStation VR game every episode.
At least.
That's what we do.
Yes.
All right, well, what PlayStation VR game are we talking about in this episode?
Today, we are... Well, welcome back to the Statik Institute of... Wow. Just killed that one. Welcome back to the Statik Institute of Retention.
Oh, thank you. I've been meaning to get back there.
Yeah, this is back when we relaunched. I guess this is my second relaunch. And we started talking about PlayStation games. We did like a 6-month revisit, and we did a two-parter. And in episode 86, we briefly mentioned Statik, which is a game we figured, well, it requires a little more delving into.
Yeah. So it's a game made by Tarsier Studios.
Yay!
They're an awesome company.
Yes.
And the other big game that they've made is dramatically different.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not in tone. It's a very dark game that they made called Little Nightmares.
Well, yes. Yeah.
The Little Nightmares kind of looks like I almost want to call it a scary Little Big Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty awesome. I know Michelle really liked it. I really liked it.
Yep.
But it was underappreciated, probably just like the title we're talking about today.
Yeah. This is definitely a title where people mention it. They see they play the demo most likely if they've got the PSVR, because I believe it comes on the demo disc, or
nope.
No, it's not. Okay, but there is a free demo available. I guess
there is a demo on the store for sure.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
And so people have given that a try, or heard it mentioned, because it is, well, I hate when people do a modifier on this word, but it's a very unique title.
It is a very unique title.
So if you're not familiar with what Statik is, it is a puzzle game. Basically, at its core, you play as a person who never gets named, or do you? We'll get to that. But you have your hands locked in a box, and you wake up in this laboratory, and there's a doctor, a scientist named Dr. Ingen, who basically, he doesn't tell you what to do, but he sort of makes notes and comments as you struggle to get yourself out of the box.
Every time you start a new level, you start with a new box.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I was kind of going back and forth on this, trying to figure out my thoughts about this.
Okay.
Right? Because there's something, I mean, obviously we love VR. VR is amazing. And I think a lot of people really enjoy move controls in VR.
Absolutely.
This game uses the DualShock 4
Yes.
in VR. So, but the reason people like the move controllers are because those can represent your separate hands. So you can move your hands separately, independent of each other. The reason this works great as a DualShock 4 game is because, as Des said, your hands are locked inside of a box.
Yeah.
And in the box, you have access to all these like different buttons and triggers, all represented by the buttons and triggers on your controller. And so if you're holding on to that controller and you look down and you see your hands in VR, they're locked inside a box at the same distance apart as they are holding that controller.
Yep.
And this is an interesting level of immersion.
Yeah.
Because you do forget, I think, after a little while, that your hands are not actually trapped inside of a box.
Yeah, it's a brilliant leap to take what could be a limit, what obviously is a limitation of the system, and turn it into not only a benefit, but actually something that increases the immersion. One thing we like the Move controllers is it gets to feel like our hands moving around, so we get to feel like we're really there. This, by locking your hands in an unnatural position, but actually having that happen in the game as well, that actually adds even more to the immersion. And on top of that, the body that's in the chair also has its head in something. So it's adding that much more, another level of immersion into it. In fact, I think I've used this quote before, but Andreas Johnson, the co-founder of Tarsier, they were talking about where they got the idea for this. And basically, they had a dev kit, and they were sitting around just holding a DualShock controller, moving the keys around, and basically saying, well, what can we do with this? It's like, oh, well, we should make a game where that's exactly what the player will do. Just explore it. And every level... it's not like you learn one mechanic in this game so then you can use it the next level, so you can use it the next level, and it gets more complicated. Yeah. No, every level starts you completely from scratch.
Let me tell you a little story.
Okay.
I played this game by Jonathan Blow called The Witness. And for some reason, I think I played The Witness and Statik around the same time as each other.
Oh, interesting.
I guess because I always compare them for some reason in my brain, even though they're drastically different.
Yeah.
Well, and here's why I need to tell you this story.
Okay.
Because I was playing The Witness, and you encounter this first puzzle, and it teaches you something, and then you go to the next puzzle, and it teaches you something else. And the more you go through that game, you're basically, as you figure out how to solve the puzzles in that game is teaching you a new language, a new way to decipher things, a new way to see things in the game.
Right.
And so the further you get, you have to go back and remember all of that stuff you learned. When you learn a language, it's not just words and nouns and verbs and whatever. It's also sentence structure, and you have to combine all these things to be able to communicate. And that's what The Witness does, and it's brilliant. But I got about 2/3 of the way through The Witness, and my brain just fried.
It's too much.
It's just, bzzz, and I was like, oh my god! If you have a brain fart and you just go blank, well, that's what happened to everything I learned in The Witness. Everything just went done. I had a complete hard drive crash.
What?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was awful. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm overloaded, and so. Yeah. That's why I love Statik, because Statik teaches you one thing, and that's this game is all about trial and error. There's no vocabulary you're building. You're not learning a new language. You are just trying to figure out. I was going to say you have to figure out how to save your own skin, how to get yourself out of this bad situation.
Right.
Because that's what it feels like you're doing at first. You're like, oh, well, if I figure out this puzzle, I can get out of this horrible situation I'm in. But it's just one bad, horrible situation after another.
Yeah, and that's something like a lot of people make a very obvious comparison between this game and Portal.
Yeah.
Because you're in a lab. Aesthetically, there's a lot of similarities. It's mostly gray, where Portal's got a lot more white, but whatever. You're being experimented on. There's a little bit of kind of humor, I guess, fairly dry, but I think that's where the comparisons end. In the Portal universe, it's dark, but it's mostly funny, and even though Gladys is straight up evil, she's also really funny in how evil she is.
Right.
And you start out Statik, it kind of feels the same. So you interpret a lot of what's being done as oh, that's supposed to be funny. But as the game progresses, and especially I found on my second playthrough, it's oh, no, this isn't funny. There's bad things happening here.
Yeah, I was telling Des earlier today that I thought that was kind of funny, using the Portal or Half-Life comparison. That it feels like this game is one of the many experiments that are going on in the Black Mesa laboratory.
Yeah.
You're walking down a hallway and there's all these doors you can't open. Right. This is what's happening behind one of those doors.
Yeah, it's very similar. I think, we kind of mentioned that. But the experiments are Aperture Lab style experiments. They're weird, they're kind of silly, but the attitude is 100% Black Mesa. This is, we're doing bad things here.
Right. I love it.
Yeah, it's so going through. When we talked about this the first time, I'll be honest, I'd only played the demo, and I was just oh, super! I love this. This is great. Yeah. go out and buy this. Now after playing through the whole game and beating it, I'm one, even more in love with it, and two, I have a totally different. I definitely made that switch from thinking about it as Portal and goofy and silly to, oh, there's some depth. You do get obsessed with trying to figure out the puzzles, but also there's sort of the meta puzzle of trying to figure out what's actually happening.
Sure. Yeah, there's but when you start a game off and they're not giving you any kind of foundation, any kind of background as to what's happening, it's up to you to be, I guess, observant and listen to conversations that are happening and just pay attention to your surroundings. And I think in most games you're given, a lot more exposition, a lot more clues along the way. This, you and I both finished this game. Mm-hmm. A lot of people out there, you guys have finished this game, and I don't think anyone has come to a real solid conclusion as to being like, okay, well, this is the answer, this is what's going on, this is what's happening.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of ambiguity, which is actually great. We've said many times we love story, and that's what we want out of our games mostly. Yeah. And there is a story here, but it's an ambiguous story, and that's okay. It doesn't have to have a clear ending. Yeah. What I like about it is there is one out there. Going back to Her Story. I don't remember we talked about that. That's the same kind of thing. It's ambiguous. As far as playing through, you can interpret the evidence a lot of different ways, but there's also the sense that, no, there is a correct answer out there. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to mention, I guess our Des Nugget for this. So this is, Tarsier is a Swedish studio.
Yep.
And that's kind of important for at least one fact. Dr. Ingen. He is your the professor, the experimenter in charge, the one who's, I guess, putting you through this, but at the very least observing you while you're going through it.
Can we talk about him for a second?
Yeah.
We never see his face.
His
face is like, anytime you see a video on the news or something, and there's somebody who doesn't want their face being shown, and so they like mosaic it. Well, his face is like that the entire time.
Even when he's right there in front of your viewpoint in person.
Yeah. It's a little bit creepy, a little bit disturbing. You're like, Absolutely. Why can't I see this person? He's the only person I'm interacting with this whole game. Like, I need to, like, you want to, there's a little bit of me that wanted to, like, create a bond with him and be like, listen, if we're on this little adventure together, then, like, we need to learn a little bit about each other, sir. And the fact that he's blurred out means he's doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's like he's guilty of something, but they're protecting his identity.
Yeah. And to add to it, at a certain point, I guess, I don't think this is a spoiler, there's a level where you're manipulating a camera and you get to see yourself in the chair.
Okay.
And your face is blurred out in the very same way.
Yeah.
So if Ingen is guilty, then I guess you are too.
Or you're the victim.
The thing I wanted to mention, so that actually adds to this, Ingen in Swedish actually means, depending on the context, either no one or nobody.
Yeah.
So you're actually going through all this with Dr. Nobody.
Yeah.
And the super Des Nugget, there are in between the times when you solve like the box puzzles, there are these sort of abstract kind of dreaming things. I don't think we made it clear, but when you solve the puzzle, you get injected with something. You can actually see it into your arm, and you black out. And in the blackout sections, there's another puzzle you have to solve, but you also hear voicemail recordings, basically. And one of the people that Dr. Ingen is talking to is Sagan, spelled Sagan, which in Swedish means fairy tale or story. So the only other person that's actually being spoken to is a fairy tale.
It's open to interpretation for sure, and I'm more than happy to get into spoiler territory.
Yeah. Before
we end the episode, but let's get there, and then we'll get there.
All right, we'll get there, and then we'll get there.
Absolutely,
makes sense.
All right, so something I want to bring up real quick is when I was comparing this to other puzzle games.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to explain why I like this puzzle game more than most puzzle games.
Okay.
Puzzle games not really a genre like I excel at. Not terribly smart. So I do what I can. And again, this game doesn't require you to remember anything.
That's really cool.
Trial and error, observation. Just try out everything you can think of. Yeah. And even if it does, if you're like, I wonder if I can do that. Give it a shot. You might be surprised at the results.
I will say, we're comparing it to The Witness, saying it doesn't really teach you any skills. I guess it doesn't teach you any in-game skills, like, hitting these buttons in this combination is not going to help you. But it does help you with other skills, like puzzle-solving skills, like observation.
Yeah.
Seriously, no spoilers. Look at everything in the room. Yep. Look everywhere in the room. Yep. This is... I mean, I guess in the last time we referred to it, I said, maybe if there's something you could make for mobile, but you can't. Now, having played it in depth, you really need to be able to, in that sense of actually a physical space in a room where you can look around and move around things, even though you can't move. Just trust me. But yeah, observation is huge to this game.
Actually, not being able to move is one of the reasons I like this game. Because in other puzzle-solving games...
Yeah.
You're never actually aware if you have everything you need to solve a puzzle.
True. That's a good point. Yeah.
There's in this game, you're when you're in a room, and that's where you are, and you can't get up and move around.
Right.
Not by standing up and moving.
Yeah.
And so you never have to be like, oh, was there something I was supposed to see in some other room to like clue me into what I was supposed to do in this room? Do I need to go back and like flip a switch somewhere? None of that. You're stuck in a chair and you have everything you need at your disposal. No inventory in this game.
Right.
Now, again, you don't have to worry about, talking about Codename Iceman, that Sierra game from forever ago, where if you didn't pick up this stupid thing on the beach in the first scene, you were screwed 4 hours later.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So you never have to worry about these things. You always... do you ever play a puzzle game?
Yes.
And,
there's more.
and go, I wonder if this is glitched. Like, I wonder if I can't beat this.
Is this just broken?
Right.
Yeah.
And I do that constantly. Like I was playing Paranormal Activity on PlayStation VR, and I couldn't find the key to open the front door, and I was like, I wonder if it's a glitch.
Yeah.
Right. I just couldn't find the key. But I like knowing that everything you need is not only at your disposal and within view. Mm-hmm. It's actually right there in your hand.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out the button combinations and what does what. Again, changes with every single puzzle.
Yeah. And it's not just, it's not just the mechanics of what you're physically doing, it's how you're approaching the puzzle changes too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is literally like you manipulate things that are on the box to, solve the puzzle. Sometimes it's very hard to talk about these puzzles without spoiling them, but
really is.
You're doing things with the box that affect the outside world.
Yep.
And that's it. Sometimes you have to, match audio patterns or visual patterns. It sounds like it could be very repetitious. Just like, okay, I'm in a box and I do this stuff with my fingers. But it's not. Each puzzle is very well designed and independent of the others. And I'll also say, by and large, they're not super difficult. There are moments of frustration, but it's not the frustration of I'm trying to do this and I just can't get the combination right. It's frustration of I know the answer's in front of me somewhere.
That's the hardest part about it, is knowing that the answer's right there and you just can't see it.
But when you get that resolution and you figure it out, it's like, oh yes, of course. There's only one level where I will say I was a little bit it wasn't my favorite because it was a timed event.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have to do once you figure out the mechanic, you have to do the mechanic within a certain amount of time. So that's the only time where it really gets
But they do give you an infinite number of tries to do it over and over and over. So there's no penalty. You just have to restart from the beginning and do it again.
Right, which gets frustrating. And Dr. Ingen even mentions that and says, this may may increase your stress levels. And at the end, he says, your stress levels were kind of crazy high.
They are. I think they are amazingly well designed because I feel like every single puzzle, almost. I think there was one or two where I got it very quickly, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm getting good at this game." And I was like, "No, I'm just got lucky."
Yeah.
I think, but they're so well designed that I feel like almost all of them brought me to the brink of frustration, right there on the edge, and then I was like, and then something clicks.
Yeah.
Something clicks, and you go, oh, and then you figure something out, which opens up something else, and then you go, oh, okay, now what can I do with this? And they make you feel smart when you get it.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, you suddenly, some panel opened up and said, here's the answer, dummy.
Right.
It's, it's more like, okay, here's the answer. 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 Here's you figure it out on your own. But yeah, it's really
It was perfectly designed for my level of intelligence. That's what I'll say.
yeah, and I don't think like if you're an expert puzzle solver, I don't want to make it sound like this is just super easy either. It's just a really well built puzzle. It gives you that, like you said, that nice line between frustration and resolution that a really good puzzle does, and you do feel rewarded and smart when you do it.
I'm curious to know about really good puzzle solvers.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I like about this puzzle game more than other puzzle games is that you can't be good at it. Yeah, I said it. You can't be good at Statik unless you've already beaten it. I feel like everyone starts off on the same playing field. You're stuck in a box. You don't know the controls. You don't know how to get out. You've got no instructions.
Yeah,
you can't be good at this right off the bat. Like people who've never played Tetris before, you can be good at Tetris right off the bat.
All right, I guess I can see that. Yeah.
Right? And I also compared this game to... thank you. I appreciate that. And I also got to say, I compared this game quite a bit to Keep Talking, No One Explodes.
Oh, yeah.
And... but it's single player. Mm-hmm. Keep Talking, Nobody... Is it No One Explodes or Nobody Explodes?
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Nobody. Yep. So it's a single player, Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, without the instruction manual.
Right.
And without a second player.
Yep. Unless...
unless you want to play with a second player.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I don't normally like to do.
Okay.
Because I don't like other people very much.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're the exception. You're the exception.
Oh. Okay.
We have 6,000 exceptions right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Jeremy and Shell now. But me and everyone else here, yeah.
5,998 exceptions. So something we didn't do. You and I both played this game. We both beat this game.
Yep.
And then we're like, hey, let's do a Gaming Without Parole episode of this game.
Yeah.
Like, fantastic. And then we're like, oh, wait, we should probably try that multiplayer thing before we talk about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We tried the multiplayer thing.
It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was, okay, if you have a tablet or a device of some sort that you can use the PlayStation app on,
Yep.
it's that easy.
You don't have to download a second app, which is fantastic. It's actually built in to the programming of the game to interface with the PlayStation app on your phone, so you don't have to go download another app, which is awesome. So
It is.
kudos for that.
Yeah, all that happened was once it synced up, which I'm sure most people probably already synced their PlayStation app to their PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Probably most people did that.
If you haven't, do it. Makes typing things so much easier.
All you have to do is you start up Statik on your PlayStation 4, and then you start up the app and you click second screen experience, and then it's like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like, whoa, that was easy.
Yeah, the one small downside is it definitely limits the number of puzzles.
There's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So the 2-player co-op Statik was so it was basically variations on puzzles we've played before.
Right.
But you had information on your device, and I had information in VR, and we had to talk very much like Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, without the time limit, to communicate what we were each seeing.
Yeah.
And even when I was looking at things and Des could see the social screen, he kept having me like, no, look back over there.
Yeah.
No, look back over there, because he'd talk and I'd look at him and I'd be like, what? And he'd go, no, look back over there. And I'm like, shoot, you need the information that I'm showing you on the screen. It's a very interesting mechanic to have to do this stuff co-op.
Yeah, and it's not simply just you looking at the second screen and saying, okay, enter this, this, and this. Like, I had to tell him to, look somewhere or do something in order for me to see what I needed to do on the screen. Right. And vice versa. We were both, I think, shocked and surprised when at one point I hit something on the phone and it affected something on the box.
Right.
Whereas before, everything, the few things I could manipulate were things in the environment. All of a sudden I hit something and something happened on the box that, in the original version of this puzzle, the person, you had control over.
Right.
But apparently, now with the multiplayer, some of that control was given away to the second screen.
Like I say, it does raise the stress level a little bit, because when you're playing this game by yourself and you know there's no time limit, you can kick back and just be like, well, I'll just keep hitting buttons until something happens. But when somebody's sitting next to you and you're trying to communicate and trying to work this thing out together, suddenly you're like, I don't want to screw up and waste this person's time. This is kind of why I can't play Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, because I'm like, it's just too stressful to work with somebody else. Yeah, it's a little rough. So we haven't even talked about every part of this game yet.
We haven't.
We haven't. There's also personality tests you're taking, or psychological profiles between puzzles.
That's really interesting in a weird way. I guess how to get into this. So yeah, you basically, so in between, do a couple levels, and you come into the square, the SQR, the special questionnaire room.
Good for you. I didn't research.
Yeah. Didn't research. I remembered.
Wow.
So the SQR, and you have, your hands are in the box, but now it's a what's the lie detector? Oh God.
Yep. Lie detector test. We're gonna go with that.
Polygraph. Yeah, polygraph.
Polygraph.
There it is.
Wow. Good for you.
Yay.
Good for you.
Took me a minute or two.
Give him $1 on Patreon.
Yes, please support us on Patreon. We got a new subscriber today, so thumbs up.
That was like 4 weeks ago.
Oh, right. Since then, we've had 10,000 subscribers a day. It's been amazing.
This show's not even called Gaming Without Parole anymore. It's also getting really hot in this room, which means it's not fall yet in our reality.
Right. We'll get the sweatshirt soon.
Okay.
So, polygraph. Yeah. So, and then depending on the different times you're in the SQR, sometimes they'll show slides, and you have to react to if it's happy or sad.
Right.
Or there's a one with sounds, which scared the crap out of my wife, actually, while I was playing this. And, there's some pretty awful sounds that happen, and she was, like, reading next to me. Most of the game, if you're not paying full attention, is pretty quiet and boring. And all of a sudden, this god-awful staticky screeching happen. Yeah. But
it's interesting because you're like, does this have any effect on the game at all?
Right.
And I still don't actually know.
Yeah, and the thing is, the narration that Dr. Ingen is giving you doesn't either. Like, he'll say, okay, this is important, but then he'll say something immediately that will completely undercut what he just said about how important it was. Yeah. So you really don't know what's happening. You can't trust him. You can't trust yourself. You're in VR. You can't trust what's happening out there. So it's really, that's where you start to, I think the first time when you're in the SQR, you start to get the sense that there's something, this isn't just funny. Right. Or maybe it's not even funny at all.
Yeah, not funny at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was taking the personality test so seriously just because I've never been tested for fun before. So, like, I just, like, fell right back into it, I was the kid that, like, when they did hearing checks, and you had to boom, 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 that thing, took that real serious, right? So, if I took a hearing test seriously, I was definitely taking this test seriously.
Yeah. And just to be clear, we are going to be kind of changing our rating scale up. It was been brought to our attention that there's another YouTube channel.
We didn't realize, like, as much as I love YouTube and I love making videos for YouTube, and, like, I do have my favorite YouTube channels that I watch. I don't watch whatever channel it is. And I don't want to say the name because I think I might get it wrong. There is a channel out there, and you probably know this already, sir or madam, that uses the scale we've been using. Yeah. We didn't know that.
No, it was totally, we thought we were being fairly original about it. So no disrespect was meant. No. We thought we came up with it. You were there first. By all means, enjoy your rating scale. It's a good one.
Yeah, we used to say, 1, buy this game immediately. It's amazing. 2, either wait for a sale, or if it's something that you're really into, maybe you should get it. Yeah. And then 3, definitely stay far away from this game.
Yes.
So we're gonna mix up the rating scale a little bit here.
Yep. We're gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give this game 2,751 personality tests out of 2,752.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straight up 10 out of 10 Ediths.
Perfect.
Yeah. We need a graphic. 10 Ediths.
No graphics. No editing. No snapping. Get out of here. I just turned you into Michelle.
Oh.
Lucky.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So I think to refer though to the old scale we were using, this is a $20 game.
Yeah.
And it will last you. How long did it take you to beat this?
I gotta say, I played it in a few different sittings, so it's hard to say exactly, but I wouldn't say it took me more than 3 hours.
I played it in one sitting and it took me 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
and it was an amazing 3 hours. It's a 3-hour experience I'll remember forever. When people come over and try out my VR, it's one of the things I'll put them into to make them try it out.
Yeah.
And now that we know how cool multiplayer is, like I want to get through those puzzles now.
Yeah. And not only that, there's something we discovered kind of in our research for this episode, something I totally missed, and I'm very angry at myself for missing. There are other puzzles hidden inside the puzzles that are there.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm confused by this. I need to go back and figure out what people were talking about. And there's not just puzzles we missed. There's also a second ending.
Yeah, so I came into this, came into our research saying, I love this game so much. I was going to say, absolutely, you need to buy this game. But maybe there's not a lot of replayability. Wrong.
Apparently, there's more than we thought.
There's plenty of replayability. We're just dumb.
I've already pointed that out.
Yeah, and to piggyback onto what you were saying there, in the first episode we mentioned this game, this was one of the foundational games that made me sit up and say, oh, VR is something different. Because it slams you into the immersion. Again, if you have your friend who gets motion sick, perfect. You don't move in this game. Easy enough. The sense of, again, by having your hands locked in there, by having your avatar in the game be locked in the position you're actually in, you can't not get that feeling of immersion. It's just, it happens automatically. Yeah, this is a no questions asked. You got to get this.
I totally agree. $20. You tack on a multiplayer, you tack on replayability, you're looking at probably about 5 hours. I'm guessing, I have no idea. But I mean, even for just the initial 3 hours I got out of it with no multiplayer, I thought that was well worth it.
Yeah.
You tack on multiplayer, you tack on looking back and trying to figure out what you missed, then hands down, I think one of the best games on PlayStation VR.
And I know we say we don't really care about spoilers because we're in an in-depth review. Don't watch the playthrough. Experience the playthrough, because the ending is one of the biggest mind fucks. You expect from the tone of the game, this is not going to be a happy, shiny ending. Okay, this is going to be your Twilight Zone, everybody goes to hell kind of ending. Something happens, and for longtime fans of the show, I had my first jump in VR. The first time I literally went back and did one of these. So I don't really want to spoil that.
You know what? I don't think we should spoil anything.
Okay.
I think we're already running long.
Yeah.
There's no reason for us to even divulge our theories. We talk to the game cats all the time.
You're not the person.
We talk to the game cats all the time. If they ever want to talk to us and discuss theories about what this game's all about, great.
Let's see, where could they drop their theories about this game? Ooh, I know, the comments. Maybe? No?
Just make sure you put a big spoiler warning on there.
Yeah.
And give about 10 spaces underneath the spoiler, and so people have to click the read more button.
Or write it in white text if you know how to do that.
Oh yeah, right on. A little HTML goes a long way. All right, so that is it. We love Statik. Look at that. We played something that we loved, and we're calling the episode "We Love Statik."
Yeah, and we do. This is amazing. I can't wait to see what Tarsier does next.
For sure. Yeah, great studio, great game. Highly recommended. There's no more to say. Go play it now.
Yeah, if you haven't bought it yet, do it.
All right, and if there's games that you want us to cover that we haven't covered yet on this show, make sure. Also comment below, in black text please, what game you'd like us to cover next, because we're all over the place these days. We're doing new games, we're doing old games, we're only doing PlayStation VR games.
We're weaving and bobbing, we're jabbing.
That's right, well the caffeine's kicking in for sure. There's a lot of editing to do tonight.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, for Gaming Without Parole, I'm Brian Paul.
And I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.